Right Side Network, bringing you the right news for the right side. I'm Jim Hoel, and once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am your voice. Thank you and good evening. This just in, breaking news. Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. The FBI has opened an investigation into the suspicious packages that were left at multiple agencies of our government and former government officials. The FBI has opened an investigation into the suspicious events and activities. Hopefully, this is something that needs to be taken seriously and needs to be handled. And the FBI is in a position to do that, and I hope to God that they will. Anyway, so it's on Twitter, FBI, FBI's Twitter. If you have any information at all leading to these terrorists, go ahead and give the FBI a call. Anyway, moving on. It's funny, I was sitting here last night and, getting back into this, I got emotional. It's been a long time since we've had a chance to talk. And, that's pretty much everything else is the same. I'm still crazy as ever, it's been proven, but I survived my first sex scandal. That was bound to happen one of these days, so I survived that one. So that's good. That's good. I could shock that it was a victory. But getting into that, there is a movement. There's a growing movement in our country right now that many of you may or may not be aware of. That movement is called the WalkAway movement. It is led by a admitted former liberal, Brandon Straka, who, after seeing the way that the Democrat Party utilizes, just the arrogance of the Democrat Party and the way that they use identity politics, the divisive rhetoric that they use day in and day out. I've been saying this for years. The American people can see right through this BS. I'm one of them. You're probably one of them. I know it. You know it. And everybody knows it. So there's BS. And Brandon Straka saw that. And he decided to walk away. In kind of the same manner, I walked away from the Republican Party in 2012. I ran away from the Democrat Party long before 2016 ever happened. There was no chance in hell. I'd known since birth that I would never vote for Hillary Clinton. So that was known since birth. So, but really getting more into that story, I was more of a independent voter. However, in 2016, I happened to put my support behind a man who nobody took seriously, nobody gave a chance. I think basically the guy was written off from day one, and that person is now sitting in the Oval Office in the White House and is the President of the United States. So, folks, I've been telling you all along. I knew he was going to win since March 11th of 2016, and he did. And the continued effort by the Democratic Party to try to sabotage his presidency is still going on today. Will it ever end? One way or another, it probably will. I don't know how. It's either going to end amicably or it could end in violence. because if they're gonna keep up this BS and this fucking nonsense that they got going on out there right now, these bomb threats, the FBI, maybe we could have a 4th of July meeting about that. But anyway, moving on. More and more millennials and members of Generation Z are waking up to the fact that the Democrat Party does not care about anyone but themselves and their money. They will stop at nothing to bring down the presidency of Donald Trump. Basically, the violent, radical impeachment fanaticism that's being spun on by these liberal morons. What that bozo Keith Ellison is still in the news today. Nancy Pelosi, the same cast of characters that have been doing this since the man won the election, took office, are still trying to sabotage his presidency. Really, geez, bless these idiots. They try the same goddamn crap all the time, and every goddamn time it fails. They should know by now that we cannot be defeated. Where we go one, we go all. And I'll be damned. It's just, and this is why the WalkAway movement is so important. Justice Kavanaugh, look at what that man went through. Stories that if you believe a high school sex cult, roaming gang of rapists in high school, mind you. In high school, there were no roaming gang of rapists, nor there were any sex cults in the high school I went to. If there were in the high schools you all went to, please let me know, because, that's just fucked up. But, come on. The allegations that were made about that man and that lawyer, that hack of a lawyer, the guy makes Saul Goodman look like Atticus Finch. I don't know how that guy, that's the worst lawyer I've ever seen in my life. And believe me, I've known some good lawyers. And they'd be turning over in the graves right now. My grandfather, a good lawyer, he would have been turning over in his grave had he saw what that man did. Soliciting bribes to spin this story that is so really just, I don't know where they make this shit up. High school sex cults, gang rapes, and and then you had the FBI go and investigate who hooked up with who at a high school party. Well, if we're going to do that, the FBI is going to have, they might as well open another branch of the government, because the stories they're going to hear, believe me, they're going to hear some doozies, because I remember high school and a lot of the locker room talk that goes on in high school. And yet this man gets accused of being a serial rapist and a member of some high school sex cult. And you don't think that ordinary Americans see right through that crap that the Democrat Party is trying to pull, and they walk away. Regardless of your party affiliate, Republican or Democrat, I am more along the lines of independent. I'm a Trump supporter. I'm a nationalist. And CNN, and they could all call me a white nationalist. I don't give a damn. Technically I am a white nationalist. I'm white and I'm a nationalist, okay? So fuck you, CNN. For God's sake, I'm Nordic Irish. We're not a bunch of Nazis like you all try to say. Come on. There are no Nazis. They are all dead. Now, there's plenty of communists. And it's funny how that works. by no means am I a Nazi sympathizer like I've been accused of being on multiple occasions. But when you compare the two, the communist regime of Joseph Stalin, the figures, they murdered and executed 10 times, the estimates are 10 times the amount of people that any Nazi government ever did. I know it's not denying the Holocaust. I mean, you cannot deny the Holocaust, okay, for God's sake. I mean, a bunch of Jews go missing, somebody's going to say something eventually, and you're going to find out that, a horrific event took place. But this isn't splitting, we're not going to split hairs here. But the fact that they continue to play the Nazi card really gets on my nerves. And I'm going to start playing the communist card, because the communists murdered hundreds of times more people than Adolf Hitler, the Nazi regime. I mean, they're probably right up there with Saddam Hussein, and but Joseph Stalin, Mao, the communists, they're the biggest murderers this country has ever seen. And we're seeing that again today in this country. You have Antifa, you have these terrorists going around sending, bombs to, bombs that looked like, I don't know, something tells me those were never meant to go off, but that might just be my intuition speaking, but I don't know, strange story. Really strange, right? 3 weeks before the election. 3 weeks before the election, 2016, we had the Access Hollywood bus incident. Justice Kavanaugh, right before his nomination, we had I don't even know what to call it, some sort of sex cult nonsense that lies and the horrible things that they said about a good and decent man who, by the way, his mother. I mean, could you imagine? Could you imagine your mother having to sit there day in and day out listening to the kind of crap that they were trying to say about her son that she knew was not true, and this man's reputation? I mean, they don't follow him the rest of it, regardless of whether he's a justice or not. Shit like that doesn't just go away, and that's why you have to walk away. The psychological damage that the Democrat Party and these donors and these liberals and this corrupt organization, may I mention the word RICO, but this corrupt organization of morons, idiots, shameless liars, corrupt individuals who utterly lack integrity and any kind of moral compass. And I was thinking about it the other night. Either they really are that careless, or they're just plain evil. Because the psychological damage that they are doing to this country, most of all to the millennial and Generation Z, will take a long, long time to recover from it. You have 18 and 19-year-olds these days who are terrified that if they put the move on the girl, that they're going to be arrested and that it's going to ruin their livelihoods or follow them in their careers some way, somehow, for the rest of their life. I did my share of slapping asses on the dance floor when I was 21 years old. It was inappropriate. Ladies, I'm sorry. But, I apologize. And, but to go the extra length and to terrorize these kids, the media is responsible for this. They're terrorizing people. They're terrorists. The mainstream media might as well be called terrorists with the damage, the psychological damage that they're doing to this country and its citizens. And that's why it's up to me to tell you the truth. So, WalkAway is a big, it means a lot to me. I was involved in let's just call it a sex scandal. There was blackmail involved. Somebody tried to out me as homosexual, which, by the way, is not true. I tend to view human sexuality as a fluid thing. It's not really set in stone, in my opinion, but that's not important. The fact remains that these people are capable of the most evil and outrageous things you could ever think of. They will use anything they can, make up fake news, lie about you, call you a rapist, lie about your tell fake news about your sex life, is he a homo, is he not a homo, why don't we all be homos, for God's sake? I mean, who the hell cares? It's like Melania said, who the hell cares? But to try to use that against someone, and to involve their mother, true evil does exist in the world, and I think that these people are evil. But it's up to us to keep fighting a good fight that was started by Andrew Breitbart and continues today. General Flynn mentioned the citizen journalist who had a hell of a lot to do with the 2016 election. Well, the man's, decorated United States Army general with 33 years in. Something tells me he's not going to be a dumbass. The Army doesn't really bring in dumbasses. General Flynn is not a man that I'd want to fuck with. And yet they illegally wiretapped his phone. I mean, he knew what was going on. I firmly believe that. I think he knows. I think he knew all along. And I think it's going to come out one of these days what these traitors in our government did, and that they tried to frame a sitting president for high treason. Yeah, So the news is still crazy as ever. That much hasn't changed in my absence, but, one of these days we'll get there. We're Americans, we're tough, I'm tough, you're tough. Tough times call for tough people. My ego, my pride, it all took a big hit in the last 8 to 12 months. But you know what? If I had to do it all over again, I would do it exactly the same. Because I believe in my heart that what I say is true. And I believe in my heart I don't do anything. I'm not doing anything wrong here. So, if people have a beef with me, that's fine. That's fine. I don't really care. If you have a particular problem with me, I don't know what I would have done to any of you people. You could ask around. I'm actually a pretty easygoing guy. I'm pretty easy to get along with, really. But for some reason, people may not think that way. But you know what? I don't want them around me anyway. So, with all that going on in my life back then, and the mental health crisis that I had, and which is another thing that they want to hit home. There's a big push these days, and I strongly believe in this, with coming from a family with a history of mental illness, that research and funding needs to go into mental health and mental illness and mental health awareness. Because, like I said, the psychological damage that these people have done, I mean, that you probably wouldn't even realize, really. I mean, you have no idea how bad these people are, and the lengths they will go to destroy someone's life or end their career. You have no idea. And it's bad. And, that could cause a lot of mental strain on someone. There are outlying mental health with our veterans. People who can't, and that's gotten a lot better thanks to President Trump. But veterans, teenagers, kids 18, 19 years old who are terrified right now, who don't know what to do because they were indoctrinated by this radical leftist BS. And now it's a good thing, but they're waking up to the fact that, hey, these people are full of shit and they've never had our best interest at heart. Now what do we do? Well, Brandon Straka can help you with that. The website is walkawaycampaign.com. And I believe their march in Washington, D.C. is over this weekend. So go to walkawaymarch.com for more info about that. I'll link it in the description. But it's an important cause, folks, because the Democrat Party is dead. The outright horrific things that or whatever it's become, the Democrat Party, whatever the hell it is now, it might as well be labeled a terrorist organization. I mean, my God, folks, these people have no regard for the average American. In fact, they have no regard for, they will throw anybody under the bus. Like I said, you got a bunch of morons running around, stabbing each other in the back, covering for each other. And it's, it's gotten better. People are starting to wake, Lindsey Graham, who, by the way, shocked the hell out of me. Good for him. I found a new respect for Lindsey Graham. But when the Kavanaugh hearings were going on, he told the truth. He stood up and he said, you know what, I voted for Kagan and I voted for Sotomayor. And I do believe this. In fact, I know in my heart that Lindsey Graham even said that he would have never done to them what the Democratic Party did to Brett Kavanaugh. And the Republican Party wouldn't have either. The Republican Party, the differences are, I don't want to. Maybe we'll save that for another day, because that's a lot to get into, really. But somewhere along the way, the Democrat Party went from just an American Party to a radical, really, really violent, radical leftist abomination. And President Obama had a lot to do with that. President Obama, the man who spied on a presidential candidate of the United States, and who, and you're not going to hear that in the news. They don't want to talk about this. They want to talk about Russia, and now you don't hear about Russia either. Now you hear about these incendiary devices that were sent out to former and current government officials. That looks a hell of a lot like some sort of false flag. When you're false flag, the connotation is conspiratorial and that shit. But false flags have happened, folks. Seriously. The Gulf of Tonkin. Watch Alex Jones. All right, look at Alex Jones. He knows about these false flags too. Now not everything's a false flag. But this, I don't understand this. You got these. Who the hell? First of all, the fact that they have ISIS flags, and if you think about it, it doesn't make any amount of goddamn sense. And it doesn't take the world's greatest detective to figure that out either. But it doesn't surprise me. The hypocrisy of the left still never ceases to amaze me. And, it looks like I'm back in business as usual, fighting the radical and intolerant left. Which is a fight that will still go on because they're going to fight a war they're going to lose. Mark my words, if they keep this up. They're going to be in for a real shock come this midterm election, I believe. I believe they're really going to see the damage they've inflicted. They're going to see the people who have and are still walking away. And they're going to find out, one way or another, that yes, Donald Trump is the President of the United States, clothed in immense power. And there's nothing you're going to do that's going to change that. If you try and impeach him, you might as well just advocate for a second civil war. Mark my words, if they did something that stupid without any evidence at all, that would ignite something the likes of which this country has never seen. So they're not going to impeach him. And if they tried, they're calling, basically they're asking for violence if they try. So, okay, the Democrat Party wants to ask for violence, I'm not going to condone it, but I can't prevent it. Trump supporters are very passionate people. Some of them you don't want to fuck with. So, when it comes to Antifa or a united Trump coalition, I think Antifa stands a chance. I mean, Jesus, give me a break, Antifa. A bunch of people dressing up like ninjas going around, anarchists, who want nothing more. I mean, it's like the Dark Knight. I mean, some people really do just want to watch the world burn. Or George Soros pays them to do it. And George Soros has been paying a lot of people to do that lately, apparently. A man who, I don't even know where what does this guy do all day? I mean, does he just go around and fund shit to try to drive Trump out? These billionaires, they have a hell of a lot of money, and I guess they do whatever the hell they want with it. But George Soros is he's a moron. He's an idiot, and he's an old man. God forbid his health would take a turn. I mean, God forbid. But George Soros has done nothing to benefit the United States, and I believe is a domestic threat. And that's my belief, but whatever. Which moves me on to my closing topic. What's going to happen here come the midterm elections? The Ash-Heap of history, where the silent majority and the unsilent minority will join up, and we will dispatch this violent, radical, leftist ideology that wants nothing more than to destroy a duly elected president of the United States, his family, and anything having to do with him. And the way that they have traumatized this nation. And they're going to see what will happen come these midterm elections. And they're going to be in for a hell of a shot. We will dispatch them onto the ash heap of history where they belong. And they deserve it. The damage they've done to this country, they deserve it. And, where we'll go from there, each day, these morons are going to try to do something else. I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't any more. They'll probably hype a police shooting, or CNN will go in line, make up some fake news, or, there'll be some more stories in the news about, bogus attacks or threats or whatever the hell you want to call it. It's fake news. It's fake news. Don't believe a word of it, folks. So, and the media will continue to do that. And I don't know if they didn't get my memo, but the mainstream media in this country is not trusted. I don't know if they don't get it. I mean, I don't know if they're not aware of it, but it's true. The mainstream media in the United States is not trusted. And, I went into it in previous videos, the reasons why. They're blatant bias, they're arrogance, they're every night just making these stories up, these allegations, Russian conspiracy theories, which you don't really hear much of that anymore. It's been, what is it? It's October 25th of 2018. And we still have nothing in the way of an answer to that. So, whoever's investing, I mean, if Donald Trump really colluded with the Russians somehow, then we must have the worst investigators in the history of the United States investigating this. I mean, this has been going on for 2 years. I mean, look at it. That means they have no proof. I don't know if they're waiting for proof to pull it out of their ass or come out of thin air or frame, they already tried to frame him. So, and he knows that. The President of the United States knows what's going on, folks. And I, for one, support him. And, regardless of your party affiliation, and here's my message to you. You could hate the President of the United States. I know many people that they just hate the President of the United States. There are people who don't understand his sense of humor. There are people who just don't get him. I get him. I mean, I don't think any president has ever made me laugh so hard in my life. I mean, it's like kind of therapeutic, really. You turn on TV, he's having a rally. People want to give him shit about it. Victory, I mean, if you know the man, Donald is like me, he has somewhat of an ego. And, and really I don't blame him. After what he went through, I'd take a victory lap right on through to 2020. I mean, barring some real disastrous outcome in some race, or maybe the Democrats find the next John F. Kennedy, which, well, that'll be the day. Donald Trump will win re-election in 2020. In fact, if he gets behind federally legalizing marijuana, that will all but ensure his re-election. I mean, I wish he would. If he got behind the marijuana initiatives that's going on in this country right now, that would all but ensure his re-election. Because the Democrats, they're not going to do shit. I mean, try to take him on, see what happens. Many have tried, all have failed. And you know why? It's because he's the President of the United States, clothed in immense power, and you lost. So now you're going to find out what it's like to have a President Trump. I'm having a good time. Maybe you'll want to have a good time with us, but if you don't, that's fine too. And we'll just keep doing this every day, and the American people will see right through the BS, and you guys can just keep looking like complete asses. But the way they continue to not only disgrace themselves, but to disgrace the United States, it's an abomination. It's horrific. I have pride in my country. I don't like to see a party that has become so corrupt that they will try to do anything in their power to stop the Trump train, which there is no stopping the Trump train. They're probably never going to figure it out, but whatever. I mean, it's like I always say, they deserve this. Their hypocrisy, the hypocrisy that they have needs to end. If we're ever going to move forward as a nation, the hypocrisy that the left has in this country needs to be thrown onto the Ash-Heap of history. And it will. So, you know, American people, you know, just remain diligent. If you see something, say something. And remember, we're all in this together. You know, well, we go one, we go all. We're all in this fight together. Because if we don't have each other, then who the hell do we have? You know, I mean, whenever you feel like someone, or I mean, whenever you feel alone, or you feel just isolated, or you know, or if you're in a situation where he who must not be named gets named, then I mean, you know, I've seen it. You know, the harassment and the torment and the really just violent way that the Trump supporters are treated by these idiots and these violent radicals. It's disgusting. And once again, the American people are going to see right through it. And, you know, Antifa, I mean, Jesus, what do you think you're going to do? You're going to start, what, a communist revolution in this country? I mean, my God. You really think that the United States military would ever allow a communist... I mean, you Antifa people, you better watch out. I mean, you know, I don't know much about you. I think you're a bunch of... I mean, I think you all need professional help. I mean, it goes mental health. You Antifa people, you need professional help. Seriously, I mean that sincerely. You Antifa people who think that you are going to somehow, some way remove a duly elected president of the United States from office, or impeach him, or the violent way you handle things like throwing rocks at the police, or starting fires in the street, or breaking shit, or vandalizing shit, or interrupting, you know, trying to attack Milo Yiannopoulos, for God's sake. I mean, for one thing, that dude couldn't have, no, never mind, but still, you know, to throw I don't get it. Why can't people be allowed to go to public universities and these conservative speakers who are banned? I mean, it started with, you know, I mean, Milo is one of them. You know, you got, I mean, Steve Bannon, Roger Stone, you know, all these guys that are pretty fucking smart people, if you want to know. You know, I mean, Roger Stone has been around long enough to know where all the bodies are buried. Steve Bannon is you know, pretty much, you know, he's a brilliant person too. I mean, you know, really. When you study the playbook that man has, it's unbelievable. It's you know, nobody can defend it. It's revolution. And yet these people get banned from these colleges because they have some axe to grind, and you know, and they have riots. I mean, Jesus, you know, there used to be a day in this country, in the days of noble men, where none of this shit went on. You know, and I mean, you know, it really all started with President Obama. And you know, I didn't agree with the goddamn thing the man stood for. I thought that he was a remarkable speaker, and that was about it. In the end, I believe that no administration in this country's history has ever had such a lack of consistency and integrity, and with just a blatant and complete and total lack of institutional control. The Obama administration is guilty of having a complete and total lack of institutional control. So, hopefully the NCAA will be sending them a letter, and sanctions, you know, I mean, who knows, you know, the NCAA does what it wants anyway, but, you know, lack of institutional control is lack of institutional control. Now, you see, you know, in the Trump administration, it may look like that, but what it is really just a bunch of, you know, morons trying to sabotage the President of the United States. And, you know, people try to stab him in the back, sure. You know, I mean, the most dangerous job in the world is the President of the United States. And I'll tell you what, the man is a hell of a fighter. I mean, I don't know what Democrat even wants to face him in 2020. I mean, you know, I don't know who would. I mean, you know, when you talk about a man who will not give up, I mean, you know, he fought and fought and fought. I mean, you know, the man was crisscrossing the country, going to 5 states a day with a week to go and before the election at the age of 70 because he wanted it more. I mean, you know, the reason Donald Trump won the election really is because he wanted it more. You know, he wanted it more than Hillary Clinton. You know, otherwise, you had him flying to 5 states a day, you know, crisscross the country, while Hillary Clinton couldn't bother to go to Wisconsin a single time since the primary. Well, that's why he won. I mean, you know, it's not Russian collusion. All right, there was no Russian involvement, collusion, whatever the hell nonsense. You know, you can't hack an election. There's no such thing. You know, I have my own opinions on how WikiLeaks obtained certain information. I have my own opinions on that. You know, all I'll say is there is still an open murder investigation in our nation's capital, in which a man who was shot down in the prime of his life, his name was Seth Rich. So, you know, maybe we should look into that more. But every time anybody, you know, the narrative of that whole thing is, you know, he was shot in the back, execution style, in an armed robbery, in which the armed robbers forgot to rob. And anytime any media organization, any outlet, any of them deviate from that narrative, their advertising gets pulled and their livelihoods are threatened. They're threatened with termination, they're fired, you know, their funding, their advertising all gets pulled, all because, you know, they want to ask questions about an open murder investigation in our nation's capital. It's strange. I don't get it. But it is what it is. You know, I don't know what Seth Rich's opinion on President Trump is or was. But what I do know is he was a man who put his principles above personal gain. The man was an American hero. And Julian Assange, you know, you know, he was the hero, you know, he's not the hero we deserved, he's the hero we needed. So, you know, when you have people who are trying to fight and are on your side, you know, the people whose, you know, the people got my back, and the people whose backs I have, they probably know it. But, you know, the fact of the matter is that let's do it together. I mean, let's change this country for the better. You know, let's toss this radical, violent, intolerant leftist ideology. Let's all get together and let's dispatch it onto the ash-heap of history where it belongs. So, that's about all the time I have for tonight. It's good to be back with you folks, and we're going to be doing this more. For Right Side News, bringing you the right news for the right side. I'm Jim Hoel. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am your voice. Thank you and good evening.